The National Pensions Regulatory Authority was set up under the Act, the National Pensions Act, Act 766, to regulate the pensions industry. The new three-tier pensions scheme, which were created under the Act, needed to have a regulator for the first time in the laws of our country to ensure that the schemes are working within the confines of the law. The law is being enforced, and also those who are involved in the industry are being well regulated. So that is why the National Pensions Regulatory Authority was set up. We started our operations in 2010 and started formalizing. So we have been in existence for almost 10 years now. This is our 9th year, and we are here to ensure that workers have a retirement income security. Absolutely not. I mean, that is the misconception that has been held over a period of time. But pensions is for everyone. It's for every Ghanaian, whether you are in the formal or the informal sector. And when we come to think of our economy, which is largely informal, to have a pension system which cuts out the informal sector will not be adequate. So our new pension system caters for both formal and informal sector of the economy. You see, the thing about the informal sector, they don't have a regular income like those in the formal sector. In the formal sector, you get paid at the end of the month, you know, and so you know there's regular income coming to you. But in the informal sector, people work on daily basis, and therefore there isn't any remuneration as such that they will get. And if they do not voluntarily put some aside, you know, for when they retire from their active work, it's even going to create a lot more difficulty for them. You know, old age poverty is a serious issue for our nation, because the end effect of it is that the nation will have to pick up on their retirement income security. I mean, they normally range from individuals to group. So if I am a single mechanic involved in a work, I can set up my own scheme. If we're a group of mechanics involved in a piece of work, we can also set up our own scheme. So if you look at the law created what we call the third tier, or tier 3, simply so called. And the tier 3 is voluntary, because you cannot force people who are in the informal sector to commit a certain amount, specific or prescribed. So the law made it voluntary for them. And it can be a personal pension scheme where the individual decides to put aside a certain amount at the end of a day, a week, a month, a year, in whichever way flexibly that they can afford. You know, so that is the personal pension scheme. Then we have the group personal pension scheme, where people who are involved in similar trade in the informal sector can put themselves up together. So sometimes they have a cooperative, or they have a union or an association or any group. They can put themselves together and then form a pension scheme that will help them. That is called the group personal pension scheme. Sometimes there's a more formalized way of an informal sector pension scheme, which we call the provident fund, where they will, you know, and usually maybe the association may contribute a part to it, you know, and then the individuals within the group may also contribute a part. So there are different forms, very flexible forms of informal sector pension schemes that they can join. The beauty of the law is in the flexibility of the informal sector, because what a mechanic will receive on a daily basis is different from what a driver will receive on a different basis, or from the tomato seller for that matter. So it is what you have as your disposable income that you can afford to part away with. So it could be as little as 1 Ghana cedi, it could be 5 Ghana, it could be as much as 100. It depends on your disposable income and how much you can afford to put away. And also, come to think of it, the fact that you are saving towards a retirement day. So it is always very good to beef it up, so that at least it can also help you at a time when you don't have a second plan. Yeah. It is all through education and sensitization. You know, we organize sometimes what we call market stalls. So we'll go to a marketplace and then we'll mount a stand and explain to people that pension is for all of us. Sometimes we go to a radio station and then we will explain to people that pension is for all of us. We have a number of billboards, you know, in society. We meet, we have stakeholder meetings, we go out of Accra, you know, and educate people. And we have our corporate trustees who come along with us, because we don't register people. We can only, as it were, educate people to let them know that they can participate. And it is the corporate trustees who actually sign them on. So we come into some kind of an agreement or partnership with them, and then we go around the country to educate and sensitize people. Yes, you know, we all save for the rainy day, as a proverb goes. You know, we have our energy, we have our strength. We can go about today, we can earn a lot. And there's a lot of money that comes in the way of the informal sector workers at a time when we are capable of doing it. But we will not be there, you know, actively working forever. Somebody in the informal sector will be contributing to SNET or even Tier 2. So for them, there is a guarantee that when they retire, something will come their way. But you in the informal sector, because it is not mandatory, it is up to you. You know, it's the law made it voluntary. So it is up to you to put up, you know, your scheme, or put something on the side to help you when you retire. So our education is even more prominent on that side. Because if they don't know, and also the misconception that pension is only for the formal sector, so they may naturally not know that they can contribute. So they will tend to, you know, direct our strength and our energies and our education more towards them, because they can be more vulnerable when they retire as compared to the formal sector worker. Indeed, a lot of challenges. I mean, the first one comes from the perception that pension is only for the formal sector worker. So many people would have been involved in an informal trade for many years without knowing that they can also contribute. So that is a big challenge that we have for us. People getting that perception out of their minds and getting to know that pension is for all of us. I mean, this law has been in existence for almost 10 years. But if you look at the people who are involved in the informal sector in pensions, it is less than 200,000. It is really worrying. And also the other challenge is collection, because the cost of mobilization is very high. Unlike the formal sector, where at the end of the month the person's salary is automatically deducted, for the informal sector you have to go to them, you know, and when cash comes into your hand, it is difficult, as it were, to part with, you know, because money can have other things to do. So the mobilization is very difficult. Of course, the good thing is that everybody has a mobile phone in this country. I mean, literally, people who are in the adult, you know, working world carry mobile phones. You know, and I think the mobile phone population is about 9 million. You know, as against about 11 million people who are in the, you know, in the working population. So a high percentage of us. And on the mobile phone, we tend to have mobile money wallets, you know, irrespective of which, you know, mobile money operator you use. And we do a lot of cashless transactions. And this is one area that we believe that mobilization of informal sector pension can come from. So we are in talks with the mobile network operators. Some corporate trustees have entered into agreements with them so that a small portion of their transactions on their mobile money can be used towards the contributions for their pensions. We are also in talks with the World Bank to bring out what we call a switch system. A switch system is where we can register people, maybe through the National Identification Authority, so that everybody's data is captured, and corporate trustees will sign them on, and they can use technology, leverage on technology, to make sure that small portions or small percentages or small amounts of monies are collected on a daily basis. As they say, small drops of water will eventually make a mighty ocean. So these are the challenges and some of the things that we're also trying to do to make sure that people who are in the informal sector are brought within the spectrum of the pensions. It's very, very low. I mean, as at the first quarter of this 2019, we had 158,000, nearly 159,000, which is really, really low compared to the fact that we have 85% of our working population in the informal sector. So the outreach there is very, very low. As compared to the formal sector. I mean, the formal sector, 1.5 million people contribute to SNET, and at the last check, at the end of first quarter, 1.4 contributing to Tier 2. So there's even a gap between those who contribute to Tier 1 and Tier 2, and we need to plug that gap. So if we are into, that number, and it is only a 15%. You expect the informal sector to be well into millions, but sadly, that is not the case. So it goes to show how our work is cut out for us, and we rely on people like you in the media. We rely on our corporate trustees to carry out the good word out there that pensions is for all of us. Pensions is saving for a rainy day, and therefore, if we do not contribute whilst we are strong and energetic and we are in work, when we retire from work, it is going to be much more difficult, and the nation may not be able to take care of all of us. Because if you look at the livelihood empowerment, for poverty alleviation in this country, it captures only a small number of people. And therefore, it is not everybody who retires from the informal sector that can, come under pension space in Ghana. So it is up to us, whilst we are active, whilst we are working, to put something aside, no matter what the amount, so that when we retire, we can have something to fall back on. I think basically is to say that we will not be strong all the time. We will not be active all the time. We need to save for the rainy day. And when we are in retirement, there is no plan B. Whatever we've been able to put aside is what looks after us. And also the fact that the dependency that we used to have in the olden days, where your child or your grandchild or somebody will look after you when you retire, that structure of our society is changing. And it will come to a point where there will not be people home to look after you in your retirement. So you need to rely on your own income that you have. And the only income that you have when you retire is what you have put away whilst you were young. So pensions is something that should become second nature to all of us. Put something aside whilst you're young, so that on your old days, you'll be able to fall back on.